Hello, in this video I will be talking about naming of alkenes. I'm going to separate the two videos into two parts, so I have a very quick one right now on common naming, of which there's very little to learn in terms of alkenes, and then in the next video we'll talk about the IUPAC system, which really isn't that much harder. But in any case, I would suggest that you read section 5.2b on page 188. Again, it's just a very short section, so go ahead and read that if you haven't already done so, and then come on back and restart the video. So, basically there are only a few alkenes that you need to know the common names of, basically four. So this 2-carbon alkene, the simplest alkene you can have, is called ethylene. And you can notice that it has the ethyl name in it, even though it's not an ethyl group, because an ethyl group is CH3CH2. This is CH2 with a double bond, but it still has that little ethyl name in it, and then ene to indicate that it's an alkene. So ethylene, perfectly common alkene. It's used in tonnage quantities in industrial chemistry. And one of the major uses is to make the polymer called polyethylene, which I'm sure you've heard of before. Then there's another one, propylene, which again is basically the same idea. It's a 3-carbon chain, just like the propyl group is a 3-carbon chain, but it's not a group attached to something else. It's a full-fledged molecule by itself, and it's an alkene, so it's called propylene. This is isobutylene, and again, same idea. The reason it's got the iso prefix, as we've seen before, is because it has two methyl groups on the same carbon, as all iso molecules do, and happens to have a double bond then between the first and second carbon. So this is called isobutylene. Again, basically you just have to memorize these names. And then here's an interesting one called isoprene. It's a 5-carbon molecule with 2 double bonds, so it's actually a diene. And we'll learn about naming dienes in the IUPAC system in the next video, but for now, just remember that a 5-carbon molecule, 4 in a row with a methyl group on the second carbon, 2 double bonds, is called isoprene. And the reason that's important is that we will see a class of compounds called terpenes, also in this chapter later on, naturally occurring compounds, which are built up of isoprene units. So that's why this is an important molecule for you to remember. As well as those 4 specific names of actual compounds, there are 2, quote, alkyl groups that have double bonds in them. The reason I say alkyl group in quotation marks is because they're actually alkenyl groups, because they have double bonds in them. But just like we have methyl groups, ethyl groups, propyl groups, isopropyl groups, butyl groups, and t-butyl groups, and all sorts of other groups, we're going to learn 2 new ones now. So if you have a 2-carbon chain attached to something else with a double bond in that 2-carbon chain, instead of being called an ethyl group, which doesn't have the double bond, this is called a vinyl group when it does have the double bond. I'm sure you've heard of vinyl before. A vinyl is a kind of plastic. Actually, vinyl is short for polyvinyl chloride, and people have just shortened that name down to vinyl. But vinyl chloride has the vinyl group in it. You can probably imagine it's a vinyl group with a chlorine attached to it, so that would be vinyl chloride. This is a vinyl group. And similarly, an allyl group is a 3-carbon chain with a double bond. But notice that the point of attachment is not on the double bond, but is on the 3rd carbon. In other words, 1 carbon away from the double bond. So that's an allyl group. You just need to memorize that. We'll see that name again fairly commonly. Here are some examples. How group names vinyl and allyl are used in naming various compounds. We'll notice that this is called vinyl bromide because it has a vinyl group attached to a bromine. And this is called allyl alcohol because it has the allyl group, the CH2, double bond CH2 attached to an OH. So this is called allyl alcohol. This would be called allyl cyclopentane because it has the CH2, CH double bond CH2 attached to a cyclopentane group. So it's allyl cyclopentane. And then here's an interesting one. This has a vinyl group attached to an oxygen and also a methyl group attached to the same oxygen. So this, as you remember, is called an ether. This particular ether is called vinyl methyl ether, or actually alphabetically it'd be methyl vinyl ether. And that's really all there is to common names of alkenes. So thank you for your attention.